You're listening to In the Balance, the Iowa Judicial Branch podcast. Welcome to In the Balance, a podcast dedicated to exploring Iowa judicial system, and I'm your host, Avas Shrestha. In today's episode, we'll take a closer look at how new judges and magistrates receive the training and resources they need to serve effectively from day one. Joining us is Alison Jepsen, Deputy Director of Judicial Education and Development. She's here to share insight into the training process and maybe a few secrets behind how it all comes together. Welcome to In the Balance, Alison.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Today, we want to know about the judicial officers training. We want to know how the judges get trained, what their mindset and what their experience is like. We want to know how well prepared they get for the very important role for the Iowa judicial system.
So we really try to be a support for them because we know that many people who are coming in very soon from being an attorney. It's really, they are a little bit thrown in the fire. So we try to be as supportive as we can in a variety of ways. And some of that is making sure we have the right content available, but it's also a continuous building process. My team and I have been working together for just over 2 years now, and we're building more and more resources all the time that can complement things like our new Judicial Officers Academy. We hold that twice a year. So we want to make sure that even though that's good that people are getting a training within a couple of months, we want to have more things that are ready to go day one. So that's something we're working on actually right now, is more of a video series that they would get more immediately. But when they come in person, one of the most important things we can do, we could talk about content all day long, which is recommended by our Judges Committee and Magistrates Committee. And we talk to a variety of judicial officers about this content, as well as internal stakeholders at State Court Administration. But we want to make sure that it's a people experience, that they get to meet other people and that they get to form a connection with their cohort, and that we have mentor judges on site. So we do ask a district court judge, a district associate judge, and a magistrate who are more experienced to come serve as mentors, so that as they are learning the content and in between sessions, they're really getting more insight from people who have been there, who remember what it's like to be in their shoes, and who have also figured things out in tips and tricks. So that's really, I feel like, where one of the biggest things we can provide our new folks are those connections and make them feel more like that they're part of a community and they're not alone in their experience.
Awesome. And do most of the new judges transition directly from being an attorney to being a judge?
Many do, yes. So they are coming from different backgrounds. So they might, and it might be that they are practicing in an area of law that they did not have a background in when they were an attorney, and that happens actually most of the time. And so we're also trying to make sure that they know that's normal, and it's normal to feel a little out of your element. But that's also informs us of what kinds of topics do we need to provide training on first, or what resources do we need first. We were finding that many attorneys were being appointed, had criminal backgrounds, but then were getting appointed to the bench and are being put on family law cases. So right now, my team and I are working on a series of videos that are overviews of family law cases and the code sections, the processes, the tips and tricks that are kind of the big overview to give someone a framework of what those cases are like and how to, be performing it under best practices when addressing those cases. And then also referring them to resources which are built from not only our Judges Committee, but our Bench Book Committee, which is formed by a group of judges as well, that has resources that then get into more specifics of what they will need as they get into those cases. And so that's something we're really mid-build now on, because we know that there are many people who come and do not have that background. So that's one of the first things we're trying to do.
This is like drastic life change for the judges from being an attorney, being a partisan for your client, and from that position to being a judge where you have to be non-partisan, non-biased. How do you think your training helps with those kind of transition?
Well, we actually just made an update to our in-person training that addresses just this thing. We added a session. We were able to extend the length of our academy just this last time, and that's something we're really happy about because it provides more time for content. But specifically, we're now starting off Academy with a session called Becoming a Judicial Officer. And that is where our mentor judges, as well as judges and magistrates who have recently gone through academy, come back and talk about the experience of that transition. So for those who have recently gone through academy and are maybe only a year or two into the job, that experience is still very fresh. So they can speak very honestly about that experience of the just shift in relationships, the different things they have to think about as far as how they are present in the community and who they're associating with and how, and what that means for their families. So well, there's a lot of excitement about becoming a judicial officer. There are so many changes, and I think more people are becoming aware of that, that's a bit of a trade-off, and people have to come in with that expectation that things will shift. And it's how can you make that shift so that it's healthy for yourself, and that you get that support. And so again, that's why coming back to that community and having people who understand that experience is so critical. So that's one of the reasons we added that at the very beginning of, before we start anything as far as technical content, let's talk about this human experience that you're
Hmm.
having now with this brand new job.
So, who are the mentors or the instructors for those judges in training? And as you said, you divide it into three.
Yes, district court judges, district associate judges, and magistrates, since those are
Magic.
our three judicial officer positions. And those are different in each district. They'll do different case types, but there tends to be some overarching look at those things. And on those, and I should say those mentors are in every session with the cohort. And some
Mhm.
sessions are broken out by role, but most are all together. So they're getting so the whole group is getting different perspectives from all three of these mentors. And we do rotate who those mentors are. We've gotten out more word out about the program. And so, besides, I think, one person, we really haven't had a repeat yet of the people, because we want there to be a variety of people who come and share their experiences and have that ability to
Mhm.
connect with the younger cohort of people who are coming in, and just to make sure that there's more connections happening along the way. And I think it just brings fresh insight every time
Oh,
to the
definitely.
topics that are being discussed.
And what are some of the main topics that are covered in the training?
So the ones we've prioritized are training that goes into some of the programs that are there to support them through the judicial branch, such as language access, the communications team, the finance team, but then turning to and then judicial interface is one that we have right away, and that's all about the different computer systems that they will be using in their role, such as the e-file system. So,
Hmm.
and getting more of the tips and tricks for how to use those systems well. We also go into more deep cut content. There's a day that we're more splitting everyone out by role, where there are folks who are going to family law sessions, some are going to juvenile law sessions, and we partner with the children's justice team on that. And then more magistrate specific tracks too.
Hmm.
So we do spread them out for a little bit individually by roles, district court, district associate, and magistrates, and then a bit just by judges and magistrates, but really only for a day, for some of the unique content that they will cover and things they need to know. Otherwise, it's a lot of content coming together about courtroom management, procedural fairness,
Hmm.
security, both for their courtrooms and outside of the courtrooms. That's something we've added recently. A lot of content is dedicated to the outlooks on mental health, not only mental health when that is a part of a case and they're maybe committing someone, but also mental health of the community at large and how that might be showing up in their courtrooms. Because, as we know, that's more and more of a challenge that many people experience. So, how do you address that, and how are you still procedurally fair when someone who is before you may not fully understand what's happening, or maybe exhibiting symptoms that they're not trying to be difficult, they're
Hmm.
just experiencing something that's making life challenging for them, and how do you address that and make sure that you are still serving them well. um, and we always end up, and of course, classically with ethics. That's
Yeah.
what the ethics of your role, as far as the things you're literally doing as a judge, and the things you're doing just within your life now
Mhm.
with that new perspective. So that kind of bookends our training, going from what are the things that have to change, and then more specifically at the end, ethically, what are the
Yeah.
things that really do need to change and that you do need to either stop doing or change how you do them, so that you are acknowledging that your new role in the community is one of you do need to be above bar in so many ways. How do you do that, and what are the ways that you can avoid some pitfalls,
Mm.
and avoid any kind of even look of impropriety? And luckily, there's more ways that people have shared of, I like to be involved, but now I found a way to be involved in this way. I can be involved in this way. I can still be present in my community. It just looks different
Yeah.
than the way it did before.
After going through the training, when you look over all of the new things they have to adjust to in their life, in the way they think about the cases, so what kind of perspective have you found to be changed in most of the judges?
They get so much out of talking to each other and getting tips of like, oh, I never thought about things that way. I think it's that human connection that really ends up getting them to think about things differently. And it's so specific to the things that might be challenging because for some folks, some kinds of cases or case types are more
Mhm.
challenging for them, and some say, "I live for those. I know everyone else hates that. I love these." But this is where I have questions. It really starts to get into them being able to voice more what they need,
Mhm.
which sounds backwards of coming out and saying, "I need more," but that's helpful because we
Yeah.
can't absolutely provide everything. There's so much they need to know, but I think once they go through this and they've talked with folks more, and that's where they usually leave with questions saying, I'm still wondering about this. And that is so helpful to us
Yeah.
because then that informs other things that we could be providing or ways we can update the trainings in person to address certain topics.
Awesome. Do all the judges get training on everything, or is it divided according to some category? In short, could you talk about some categories of training the judges receive?
So really, when they start, it's a lot of figuring things out, and but also that a lot of people just end their district kind of coming in to support them. So a lot of it is again that human element. Then they
Mhm.
are coming to our training at New Judicial Officers Academy, and we're really working to kind of bridge that gap because that's a big gap that we know is there. So really trying to create more content that's video based that even before day one we are
Mhm.
getting to them so they have time to get more of those overviews. So that is something that is in progress. But as far as things that are happening now, after New Judicial Officers Academy, we
Mhm.
do offer for all judges to attend either of the National Judicial College's General Jurisdiction course.
Mhm.
They are based in Reno, and that is a 10-day course. It's a pretty intense course where they go through a lot of various case types, courtroom demeanor, best practices. That is a very intensive course, and that's with judges, of course, across the country. So they not only get to make connections with other Iowa judges who might be attending with them, they get to make connections with judges across the country. And some states have similar judicial systems to Iowa, as far as judge retention and voting or versus appointment and or the different kinds of cases that different kinds of judges might handle. But there's always that sense of you're learning something about how, sometimes it's just that here's how I manage my courtroom. Here's how I connect with people to make sure that the process runs well and make sure I am serving people and they feel heard because that is going to be instrumental in how people feel that the process has served them. So we do send them there, or for our judges who are more in the juvenile space, we might send them to the National Council of Family and Juvenile and Family Court Judges, New
Mhm.
Judges Institute. So we do provide that option, usually for the district associate judges, if they would like to attend that instead, because that content tends to be very specific in the juvenile world, is a hyper-specific area that has a lot of course, federal law
Mhm.
applied to it and a lot of restrictions and it's just a lot more
Hmm. Yeah.
detailed as far as what judges need to know and need to care for the children in the system and or who might be affected by cases.
Oh, that's interesting. Um, what about the judges who have already been serving? Do they contact you for additional training?
So, as far as the more experienced judges or judges who've been on the bench for a little while, that's really where it comes to our conferences to get a sense of what content they need or what people are asking about, and that's where our committees, our judges and magistrates committees, are so instrumental because they not only tell us what are the things that people are asking about or are confused
Mm.
about or really want more content about or a new law change has come along and they want to know how to address it, any number of things, and that's what feeds a lot of our conference content content, but we don't limit it to that. Not everything can fit into conferences, so we do partner to do webinars on certain topics. We can partner to make resources. Sometimes we do talk to our bench book committee of, does this just need to be a resource that we provide to people that people need to be able to have in their hands all the time? Or does this need to be a one-time quick video training, as part of a video series? So sometimes it's just finding the best place for that content, because though we're very fortunate to have 2 judges conferences per year, the magistrates only have 1. And we want to make sure that that content is available as soon as we can get it to them, and when it's necessary. So with webinars and some of that online content, it makes us a lot more nimble to be able to meet those needs when they need to be met.
What kind of feedback have you received from the judges once they go through the training?
We get a lot of good feedback, and some people say this is great. And I feel like the primary is being able to connect with other new judicial
Mhm.
officers. We get a lot of good feedback too about, oh, well, this is good, but we need this earlier. And so a lot of what we are working towards is making a lot of the content for New Judicial Officers Academy again available via video sooner, which takes a while to produce, but we're
Yeah.
working toward that. So that once they arrive, even if they've been on the bench for a few months, it's more of an advanced class, and they can bring their examples and their situations to those trainings of, what about this context? What can I do in this case? This really had me stuck. Or what some resources? Does anyone have a script? Um, or am I not looking in the right place for this resource? Being able to be more honest and upfront
Mm.
about the situations that they're running across. And so that's really what we want to build to, because we feel like that those kind of interactions again are what make we want to have some of the structure there
Yeah.
of an instructor being there of, you've probably experienced this, here's some things to kind of layer on top of that, and then bring your own experiences on top of that to really make sure that you're getting the full benefit of this, as well as you're hearing the things that other people are experiencing, and maybe you haven't run across that yet, and now you're learning something new.
From the looks of it, if I understand, the way judicial training works is beside you training with resource and materials, there's a lot of judges and magistrates helping each other and trying to
Yes,
focus on what
absolutely.
works.
Absolutely. I think that's happening at the district level. People are connecting to each other. I think it's facilitating more ways for them to connect to each other is one of the biggest parts of our job. So that when we do have somebody who is presenting certain content, that people say, oh, that person seems to know about this. And then they feel more comfortable maybe approaching them. And it also helps us as a team to say, we don't know that maybe particularly, but I bet if you reach out to this person, they would love to hear from you. And pretty much everybody who's presented for us said, please email me. And people do love that. They like connecting to each other. They
Mhm.
like it. I think everyone just loves to feel that that when they reach out, somebody is so willing to respond to them, and that willingness is there. Everyone always feels like they're bothering everyone else, and I think that's really not how it should be. Everyone, I
Yeah.
think, wants to connect. Everyone's busy and will respond in their own time, maybe not immediately, but I think people want to provide that support that they would wish to receive from someone else in return.
That's amazing. That's really good to know that people are connecting and helping each other and providing the resource they can for each other in the courtroom. So,
Exactly.
thank you so much, Alison, for sharing such valuable insight into the training resources and objectives behind preparing new judges and magistrates. We truly appreciate the information, and we hope our listeners now have a better understanding of what it takes to train for important role of a judge. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next month with another informative episode. Until then, thank you for listening to In the Balance.